Hey everybody, it's Ron over here at Becoming Enlightened Together. So we have another runic reading, another quick one. This one looks like it deals with basically somebody karmic situation, very extreme situation. And it looks like they're trying their very best to get out of that situation. I don't know who this is for, but I do see, although the majority of the reading, speaks about that particular aspect of it, the overall energy, which is Sowillo for this entire week, and Sowillo is a very powerful rune. Talks about the sun, victory, clarity, honor. Talks about health. Talks about success. Even having contact with the higher realms and everything else subconsciously, a sense of wholeness and power, elemental forces working with you, and so on. So we have a lot of energy that works in our best interests and so on, especially this week. But for the karmic, or those who are going through a very karmic situation, I don't like to keep using that word so indiscriminately, but it's the only one that really fits, these very low vibrational types of, situations or people involved in these situations. And at the very end of it, though, it looks like there is hope for this person or people who are trying to get themselves out of something that, they meshed themselves to, and were probably very much involved themselves, although it looks like maybe there was some deception involved here as well. So even though they made a lot of terrible decisions, they involved themselves with a lot of heinous activities and so on, which proves they have a lot of healing themselves yet to do. They were not necessarily the overall motivation behind these particular heinous acts. So, or either that, or they, because of they can't stand the heat in the kitchen they created, so now they're trying to get themselves out. It could be either or. It's non-specific, but it looks like somebody's trying to get themselves out. So with that in mind, that's what this reading is about, and hopefully I can give you a little bit of insight. Okay, so now the past energy, or what we pulled yesterday for today, Monday, is Ingwaz, and Ingwaz today is in the reverse, so it's reverse energy. Okay, so what does that mean? Well, it talks about endings. It talks about milestones, so again, just like a good milestone being something that we achieved, that we really set out and wanted to achieve. We can also have the negative side of that as well. But again, before a new beginning, there has to be an ending, right? All right, so it talks about the completion of something or limits in something. It talks about coming full circle in something as well. Also blindness and hopelessness. And I get the impression, the feeling, and so on, that whoever is involved in this karmic situation has been really pondering all of this for quite some time. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean they were, having a change of heart during that whole time. They were still very much involved and only concerned with their own wants, needs, and desires. So they were still acting in a very careless and selfish manner, it looks like. But there is still a part of them that is still redeemable, to the point where, they've been battling. This inner battle has been going on, and it looks like finally the, higher resonating side of them, their higher self, if you will, is starting to be heard, and that's good. Now, our present energy is also in the reverse. It's Nalthus. Nalthus in the reverse. Basically talks about going in the wrong direction. And that's certainly what they have been doing for quite a number of years, it looks like. Talks about, possessiveness. Maybe somebody in their energy is really clinging to them, not allowing them any free space or, freedom whatsoever, watching everything that they do. And maybe they've earned that by many of their shady dealings and actions, too. It's not clear about that, and I certainly get the impression that they weren't, exactly little angels themselves. So, for what that, whoever that's for. It talks about, again, inappropriate constraint of freedom. It talks about a sense of distress, toil, drudgery. It Talks about your needs and wants, your necessities not being met or feeling like they're not being met right now. A sense of starvation, maybe not just from physical hunger, but maybe an emotional starvation and hunger as well. Poverty. Talks about emotional hunger specifically. So talks about a focus upon one's around their own finances, their money, their material goods, and things of that nature. It's just not a very positive, energy that we're looking at. All right, so now this in the reverse is the present energy. Now, as far as our obstacles go, we have Urus in the reverse, and Urus in the reverse is also a less than positive energy. It talks about somebody who's weak-willed, in a state of very low energy, possibly ill. It talks about missed opportunities, sense of weakness, sickness, once again, lusty, ignorant energy, somebody who's very inconsistent and brutal, somebody who's very violent, restless, callous, and somebody who dominates or is dominated by other people. So again, we see that lack of freedom, somebody wanting to get away, somebody wanting to break free, but at least in their mind they feel they're incapable of doing so. Again, it's a state of mind. It's not a physical restraint, it looks like, but it could be. It doesn't appear that way. It seems like it's an emotional or a psychological restraint that's being utilized here, maybe fear-based. Somebody can do a lot of damage. We see that with the brutality and the violence, that's being, shown here. So perhaps somebody's, fearful for their life. So that could be a very, very difficult barrier to get over, I assume. So, but you have to have courage. You have to face your oppressor. You have to face the enemy head on. Okay? I'm not saying that to fight them physically, because maybe they are, most people that are in that energy are very, they're cowardly. They're bullies. They're usually people of larger stature, or people who are very angry, and they use that anger and that, their size perhaps as a way of intimidating people around them. So I don't encourage you to necessarily step in front of them and go toe-to-toe with them unless you're capable of doing that. But, you don't have to take their shit. And there are recourses, in terms of that. If you can't go to the police because of your own, wicked deeds, and they're holding that against you, or whatever the case may be, again, you possibly have friends, maybe family. Perhaps they're involved in this too. I can't say with any certainty. I mean, it looks like a big mess here. So, but if nothing else, you can always simply run away. I mean, you may lose everything. I've been there, and I'm still here. I'm just saying, you can do what you need to do. Your only obstacles right now are the ones you create in your mind. Okay? You're not meant to stay in that state. Now, our advice in this particular case is Haglas. Haglas also is in the reverse. So it talks about disruptions and disruptive forces, natural disasters, catastrophes, feeling stagnant or being in stagnation, a loss of power, being in pain, a sense of loss and suffering, hardships, crisis, and again, sickness. Now, the sickness is not specific. It seems as though they're speaking about the one who's trying to be doing the restraining, not the restrainee. But it could be both parties, as far as I know. It's not that clear as far as the energy goes. But somebody who's very ill and very possibly may need some kind of care. Okay. Now, as far as the future outcome goes, it goes into a more positive turnaround. This is algas in the upright. And this is basically a rune of protection, okay? Guardianship by the gods themselves. In some cases, it talks about friendship, the soul, optimism, aspirations, fortune, protection, a shielding oneself and others, a protective urge, um, a sense of defense. Again, you're protecting, you're warding off, evil. Literally, and it's one of the runes that we use in regards to that, and it can be used against, evil that is committed by individuals as well. So, again, call upon algas, utilize the energy of algas for protection against this onslaught that I assume you're the cross watcher, those who are looking for answers on how to get out of this karmic mess you may have created yourself, so some of this karma is rightfully deserved. And I'm not trying to be judge, jury, and executioner, but that is the way the universe works. We all experience this to a greater or lesser degree. Now is your time. However, if you are trying to make amends, you are trying to make things right, and your heart is genuine about this, then I have, I have to actually follow through and give you what advice that I can and the energy that's available in order to get yourself out of this mess. So you do have a connection with the gods that could be forming right now. An awakening is taking place with your higher self. It talks about following your instincts at this time. It talks about keeping a hold of your success, maintaining a position that you had either won or earned, not stolen. Okay, if this is somebody that you're still up to your evil ways, your chicanery, and things of that nature, let's face it, you're not in the energy that I'm talking about. This is for somebody who's truly trying to repent, if you will, for lack of a better word, and trying to change their ways, trying to move in the light and getting themselves out of the darkness. If that's what you are here, to discover, then you have the tools at your disposal that are necessary and the higher powers at work in your corner to aid you if you indeed are moving with that particular perspective, that heart, that change of heart, I should say. And that's pretty much where I'm going to end this. It tells you quite a bit about the situation, and you'll know if that's your situation or not. But you have the overall energy of both Sowilo and algas available to you. Very, very powerful energies in the Nordic world of magic and divination. So that world is yours if you claim it. Okay, it's not exclusive to the Viking world. It's not. And there are similar energies that are not necessarily, if you will, attached to a simple, if you will, genetic tie of any kind, whether it's Gaelic, Celtic, whether it's, African or Aryan, whether it's Middle Eastern or Persian, or, maybe indigenous, all these energies are simply energies, and energy is the same. It just comes in different forms. Again, it's the first and second law of thermodynamics. Energy cannot be created or destroyed, but can be converted from one form into another. And we see that in electrical theory. So if you want to understand that better, look at that. We also see that in the theory of heat, or again, thermodynamics. So there's a lot to be said about those rules, those laws, as science in their ego believe that they have, I guess, come up with, even though they've existed for literally thousands of years. So they're just catching up is all they're doing. But they are laws nonetheless, and those laws can be understood and actually related to many religious dogmatic verses or texts, regardless of what faith it is that you're looking at. You can find them in Zoroastrianism, you can find them in Hinduism, you can find them in Buddhism, you can find them in all the variations of Christianity and Judaism. You can find them even in Islam. I don't mean it to single that particular faith out, but that came after Christianity and Judaism. And you can find them certainly within the indigenous, belief systems, whether it's, those from Australia or those from the Americas. So we see these same energies echoed, just described differently in the different cultures that exist in our world. And they're there to be utilized and to be used, not to be feared, respected, but not feared. Okay? So, and yes, there are people who use these energies for absolute darkness. And if you're doing it in the Crowleyan sense, where all you care about is yourself, your own selfish needs, wants, and desires at the expense of any and everything else, then you are definitely, just like him, you're on the path of destruction. It's your choice. There are those who use it for good, right, as it was meant to be. Use it for the betterment of this world, the betterment of people around you, and so on and so forth. And I would strongly urge all those who are hearing my voice to consider that. It's not something to be feared. It's something to be respected. And it's something that's available to us. Again, there are certain societies or groups, certainly certain families who have ruled over us, in this world for many thousands of years, who do not want you to be aware of this energy. They want to have it for themselves, so they continue to be the recipients of the energy and the power that exists in this world, that is willingly given to them by the darker forces, the archonic, jinn, demonic, and whatever forces, you want to give them, the nagas, and so on and so forth. And not all of those evil forces are absolutely, I could say utterly evil. Okay? I mean, we have good and bad ancestors, and so on and so forth. People have done good and bad in our bloodline. And you may have done many of those things yourself in previous lives. We all have the potential to grow. And there are some dark forces out there, don't get me wrong. And there are forces of light out there as well. So it's just the way that certain dogmatic faiths have painted them are not accurate assessments of what's really going on in the realm of the unseen. Okay? And again, I've only put that together because I've looked at things from a scientific perspective as well as a philosophical perspective, and I mix that together with all the different belief systems. Most of their books I own. Okay. Now, that's where I'm going to leave everything. I'm not an expert on anything, but I do have a lot of information, and I'm putting it all together like a giant puzzle. Okay. I do wish you all victory, and of course success, and I'll see you in the very, very near, no, not near, excuse me, far future, perhaps in Valhalla. Until then, take care. Bless.